From the alley-oops at Keyshaw to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way. From off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. Welcome to the show. We've got a lot of news today. Quarterback news all over the place. Horst is here. Me and Horst are going to be recording, and now we're going live. So get your comments in. Let's have a fun conversation about this 49ers quarterback room because, Horst, it's been reported today by Ian Rappaport, but Tom Pelissero said it as well, which means it's probably true.
It means it was on the rap sheet.
Right. Sam Darnold is going to be quarterback 2 for the San Francisco 49ers. And then the news report coming out from Cam Inman and a lot of the reporters that are at practice that Trey Lance isn't there. So chat's filling up. What's up, everyone that's coming in and really appreciate it. And I wonder how many people feel like Josh Horst. Darnold at quarterback 2, I don't mind at all.
I know that's personally how I feel. I don't mind him at all. I think Lance still has a ton of potential, and it's unfortunate that, if it is a bad situation, it's unfortunate that it turned that way. But, I mean, Kyle's got to do what he feels like is best for the team. And if he feels like that if something happens to Brock Purdy, that the best option is Sam Darnold, then he's got to put Sam Darnold second.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting that you get this news coming out today because it was just yesterday that Kyle Shanahan came out and he said, hey, we're not going to decide on the quarterback 2 until we get closer to game time. And then he even talked about the fact that he could go one way or the other, like it could go back and forth depending on game. And then all of a sudden this news comes out. And I think it's compounded by the fact that Trey's not coming, to practice now. Did Trey request a trade? Did they tell him something's imminent? And then there was a little bit extra to those tweets where they said they're exploring options. Exploring options has to think they're trying to find a way to move him. But it's just interesting. I think if Trey was at practice, it would just be business as usual. But now it's a lot more to it. Yeah,
and you never know what happened. Maybe Trey and his agent pushed to know whether he's going to be the second string or third string. So the Niners gave him an answer they didn't like. You never know what really happens back there. But maybe getting out of San Francisco will be what's best for Trey. And getting a new start.
Yeah, and Josh says, knowing the 49ers, though, they're going to want a nice package if Trey is traded. And we started seeing people kind of float things around already. Ian Rappaport floating the Minnesota Vikings. You've got, there are, I'm sure, options out there, especially for teams looking to maybe get another backup quarterback. I thought Trey did a pretty good job in the last game showing that he's got upside. And I think everyone's always known with the big arm, the big ability, but he also showed escapability in that game. He showed more athleticism, more instincts. I think there's a possibility, that we could see something happening there. So, and 49ers-aholics says right here, Lombardi video, no Trey in warmups today. Exactly. Trey's not there, which means this situation is definitely different than what we anticipated. Because I think that everyone thought that they were going to hold on to Darnold, they're going to hold on to Trey. Depending on week, one of these guys is going to be quarterback 2. Now it appears that the 49ers are going to make a decision, and that could mean, does that mean Brandon Allen ends up being quarterback 3, or does Kyle Shanahan just elect to go with 2 quarterbacks anyways,
or maybe
even after
Josh
everything?
Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could. I hope it's not Josh Johnson. And, Randy Daytona says, sick of the faithless. They're rarely in here, I hope. There's no faithless here. I think what we're trying to do, and Randy knows this, he's been on the channel for a long time, just figure out what is going on with this quarterback situation, because I thought that we had some clarity yesterday. I'd actually cut clips of Kyle Shanahan talking about quarterback 2, and now all of a sudden it feels like that's out the window. Of course, with all things, I would say, hey, wait and see what Kyle Shanahan has to say about the situation, or John Lynch, and they'll give us clarity. But with Trey not coming to practice, I think it makes it more apparent that this is the actual way things went.
Yes, JLE, I know that Josh Johnson is with Baltimore. I was just being funny.
Yeah, that's Horst being Horst. So JLE said Johnson.
Just horsting around.
Yeah, JLE, he knows his horse. He knows his horse. So, but I mean, Horst, were you surprised when the news came out today that they announced Sam Darnold as quarterback 2?
I wasn't surprised who they picked. I was surprised they announced it already.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, you have another preseason game left. I thought when I first read the announcement, I thought it was going to be that they had decided Sam Darnold was going to be quarterback 2 headed into the preseason game. Like they were going to let Brock spin for a couple series, and then Darnold was going to take the reps again. But that appears to not be the case. But they're actually talking about Pittsburgh. With Pittsburgh being, less than 3 weeks now, could Kyle Shanahan be getting this out there for a couple of reasons? Number one, he knows that this is going to be somewhat of a distraction for his locker room. So if you approach it now, it'll kind of dissipate by the time you get, to the regular season. Or could there be some sort of a move imminent with Trey Lance? So they just went ahead and this news got out because they're trying to figure out who's going to be, interested in the Trey Lance sweepstakes.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
I think Josh has a good point here, Horst. When they signed Darnold day one of free agency, you kind of knew the value they had was very high. And
it's definitely true.
Yeah, you don't just sign guys day one to come in and be your third string quarterback. Now, I always thought that signing had a little bit to do with the fact that you had a player in Sam Darnold who could step in, and you wanted him and Trey to be available because Trey was coming off injury and Brock was injured. So you needed to have a guy that had starts under his belt, 56 starts in the NFL for Sam Darnold. I thought it made sense from a veteran standpoint. But once Brock Purdy was cleared, you did have a stockpile of talent. I was thinking last year kind of made them gun shy that they wanted to keep a stockpile of talent. But now let's see. I don't know what the relationship's like between the 49ers front office and Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Could this be Trey Lance have asked for, today? Could he have went in there and say, hey, I want to be released. Hey, I want to be traded once he found out potentially that Sam Darnold's quarterback too?
Yeah, I would assume it's something along those lines.
Yeah. Mark Graves has a good question here, Horst. He says, is it easier to get rid of Trey now that all the picks from the trade have been used?
No.
I think that when it comes to Trey Lance, there's never going to be a good time to be able to, to move on from him. For the mere fact that you did give up so much to get Trey, in the draft. You wanted to go up there and get a franchise quarterback, and that was going to be tough. I think that the 49ers got lucky with a couple of those first-round picks. They ended up being late first-round picks. But I think that overall, when it comes to Trey, they're never going to feel like they got the value. And I don't think they're going to get the value back either. That's one thing. There's no way they're getting a first-round pick for Trey Lance. So what exactly are they getting? Could they get a situation where they trade Trey, and a 2 or Trey and a 3 and potentially get a 1, something like that? I have no idea what the actual market's going to be for Trey, but I would guess it's something actually that's mid-rounds.
I would think 4th.
Yeah, a lot of the conversation, right, that we had about Jimmy Garoppolo and how they're going to go about, trading him last. I think those are kind of the conversations, we're still going to have here. And 49ers all, because I was really hoping to see Trey get a drive or two with the starters on Friday. And I think there was a lot of people that were pushing for that, to go ahead and see Trey Lance playing with the starters and playing with the big-time weapons. It's not – I don't know if it's going to happen. We don't know why he's not at practice. But you would think he was going to be there if he was going to be playing on Friday. So to me, this kind of signals that maybe we're not going to get Trey Lance in the game. And I think that's something that we wanted. And James asks a question here, Horst. Are they rotating quarterbacks because Kenny has a play style like Sam?
Oh, so is he asking if Sam can play Trey and play Pickett in the scout team?
Yeah.
I don't think that would have anything to do with the decision they made today. If they're both on your roster and one of them plays similar to a quarterback you're going to face, you would just use one of them.
Yeah, and BB50 says it. So if we're this way, we're clear. If they release Trey, they will eat his $9 million. So release is not happening, right? So if they're going to move on from Trey, it's going to be for a trade. And what are they going to get back for him? I think is the bigger question. It's a little interesting right now for sure. And Forktail says Trey wants out has to be it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean it seems like that's something that it could be. You know what I mean? And I think that this is a thing from Barron, and he says, "Hey, I still need depth." Yeah, they've got to feel pretty good about Brandon Allen. Maybe they didn't expect Trey when they went to him, to say, hey, I want out. I want to get released. I want to get traded, whatever that is. And so now they're thinking to themselves, hey, let's regroup. I don't know. I'm curious. Today wasn't a day that Kyle Shanahan speaks to the media. It's Chris Verster that spoke to the media. So I wonder if they're going to be able to get some information from Kyle Shanahan about this. My guess would be that they're going to be pretty close-lipped about it. I know Kyle goes on KMBR and John Lynch does sometimes. Let's see. Maybe we'll get some information from that. And Josh says, hey, don't see them fetching more than a third, Horst. I think that's kind of has to be. And I like this from Jay Ellie. It has to be players. Who would be like, what position of a player would you want to get back in, in return for Trey Lance? Like if you moved on from Trey Lance,
maybe a DB.
Yeah. I mean, could this be, I know that right now the Washington Commanders are good with Sam Howell. Could the 49ers, flip Trey Lance for an edge rusher? You know what I mean? They got Sweat, they got Chase Young. Both of those guys are in the last year of their contract. Could the 49ers do some sort of move there where, hey, yeah, it's a 1-year rental, but you're trying to get over the top? Like those type of moves, that would be interesting to me.
I'd be really happy with Chase Young.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, that's what you're looking at. JLE says, and picks. I don't know if you're going to be able to get and picks for it. So to me, I don't know. And James says, are they eyeing up a trade for Jonathan Taylor?
Highly doubtful.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. I don't know what it would take to get him, but I'm guessing more than Trey Lance because the Colts just got Anthony Richardson. So I don't think they would be interested in that for sure. So I think that, this is an interesting one. Kind of came out of left field. I didn't expect, it to happen. It's very interesting that they've decided, that this is probably the way to go. And thanks so much, Randy, for saying, hey, like and subscribe. Yeah, like and subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate that.
I like you too, Randy.
Yeah. Barron says, if he is for trade, wouldn't you think they would play him to show him? Yeah, it could be. I mean, they might have planned on playing him all along. This could be them going to him and telling him that, he was going to be quarterback 3 and his response being, hey, I want out. And if that's the case, he's probably not available. So I think, potentially that's where we're looking at is Trey Lance maybe forcing his way out. We'll see. Maybe he just took this information hard and they're allowing him to regroup. I don't know. But I mean, Trey isn't normally shaken by stuff like this. So to me, it's kind of interesting. And Horst, James says a right tackle. I mean, I just don't know where you're going to get a legit right tackle, especially because I think the right tackle will come in as a backup, with Colton McKivitz. Yeah, see, and Josh was thinking the same thing I was. Trade him to the Commanders, maybe get Chase Young. Is that something, Horst? You were definitely down for that?
Definitely.
Yeah, and I bleed red and gold. What's up? Says, wow, what a bomb. The timing surprised me the most. I knew something like this was coming, but wasn't expecting this after the last preseason game. And yeah, I think you're right. I think that's one of the things that caught everyone off guard, Horst, was the fact that you have a guy in Trey Lance that played so good at the end of the football game. I mean, could another team have saw his performance and said, you know what? We like that now, and called John Lynch and maybe put something out there that there could be interested in potentially picking up, Trey Lance in some sort of a deal.
Oh, that's very, very, very possible.
Yeah, it definitely is possible, and Master Indy Craft says, I really like Trey and had high hopes for him. And I think there's a big portion of the fan base.
I thought he was going to be a stud coming out.
Yeah, that really think that, they really like Trey a lot. And, I have nothing against Trey. I've always thought that he had tremendous potential. One of the better deep throwing quarterbacks that I've seen in person. He's always looked good, and I thought he had a really good training camp. I thought he was in command of the offense, and that's ultimately what you're looking for. Is you're looking for that guy that can command. And unfortunately for Trey, all three quarterbacks on top have showed command of the offense. Brock Purdy has definitely showed, command. I thought Sam Darnold recently, especially, has showed command of the offense. He's picked up the offense. I thought it was going to be all three guys.
So did I.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to keep all three.
Yeah. And Stovey says, what's up, Stovey? Kyle F. this up badly. We're screwed if Purdy gets hurt. I think there's going to be a lot of people that have that feeling. Not a lot of people aren't sold on Sam Darnold. Part of the reason they're not sold on Sam Darnold is because of what he did with the New York Jets, what he did with Carolina. And, we've seen the most film on Sam Darnold of all the quarterbacks that the 49ers have.
Yes.
And people are not buying into that there's a new Sam Darnold. The one thing is Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan have always been tremendously high on Sam Darnold ever since he came out in the draft. So, to me, it's something that I think the 49ers, knew was a possibility when they signed Sam Darnold. I don't know if they thought they were going to get to this point. It's very interesting.
But, you have to play the better player if they feel like Darnold's the better player.
Yeah, you're right. And, this is an interesting take, too, from Randy. It says, Lance not developing to his potential is Kyle's fault. The other players are fine, right? I think, anytime you're talking about development of a player, you don't always know how a player is going to develop, how quickly. You also don't know, what things they need to be successful, and when they have their opportunities, if they're going to be able to seize those opportunities.
Yeah.
I think last year was going to be a huge opportunity for Trey Lance. They named him the starter. They were going to be using him, to be the big time, player all year long. They were going to take their lumps with him as the starter, and then he just goes down. It's like I think that sometimes
he didn't just go down. A guy that's his age came in and balled.
Yeah, but it all starts right from Trey getting hurt in Seattle. If Trey doesn't get hurt in Seattle, they roll with him for a while. You know what I mean? I really do think they would have got they would have got to see what he really was. And what's up, Spy Nick Danger in the house? Forktel says, if Trey is forcing a trade, it kills 49ers leverage in trade, unfortunately. Great point, Forktel. It does. It will hurt their trade value because then other teams know you have to move Trey Lance. Now, of course, the 49ers could always take the position, no, we don't have to move him. We can sit here. He can't go anywhere. We have all the control. But it definitely does around the league give the impression if Trey is trying to force a trade that they can potentially get him for pennies on the dollar. But I think they were already kind of thinking that, right? You were never going to get the value now for Trey Lance that you got for him before. So to me, it's definitely interesting. And Brian says this, I wouldn't give up on Lance still. He's so inexperienced still. Give him 2 more years to get that experience without worrying about getting injured and having a setback. I thought they weren't going to give up on him on this year. Now, here was the interesting thing. After this season, Brian, he was going to have a 5th-year option. Were the 49ers going to be willing to take his 5th-year option and pay him the amount of money they were going to have to pay him? Probably not. So that's probably why they're making a decision now where a team has a year of control to be able to decide if they want a 5th year or a 2nd year of control. It would increase his trade value, I think.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense why someone would want him right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what's Spiding Danger, always the best, says LFG Niners, let's go. Love that. Master D Craft says it just seems like Kyle just didn't vibe with him. Horse, do you think that's it? That it's a vibe thing? Kyle Shanahan just didn't vibe with how Trey Lance went about quarterback.
I don't think so because everything, the reports come out is that Kyle and Jimmy never got along.
Yeah. And
they were able to put together a lot of wins. So I don't think how well he gets along with the guy is really the detection of if he's going to play him or win with him. Because him and Jimmy went to the championship game twice, went to a Super Bowl, and it kind of turned out they never really were fond of each other.
Yeah, and Josh says this, in the system, Darnold can win games. And I think that's what you kind of heard Kyle talking about during the week is when you have the defense that you have and you have, a run game like they have, it makes it a lot easier for a quarterback. And I think it does simplify things for quarterbacks. So you want the guy with the extreme upside, right? You want the Trey Lance ability because if that guy succeeds, it makes your team almost impossible to stop.
Yes.
But if you have guys like Brock Purdy, like Sam Darnold that can operate, play within the offense, complete the necessary throws that Kyle wants them to make, then all you have to do is have them create off schedule occasionally, and then you've got a chance to be a big-time offense. So to me, I mean, that does make a lot of sense that Darnold within this offense, could work out. And what's up, Ernest? Ernest is in the house, and he says, I'm excited to get another edge rusher by trading Lance, getting rid of the salary cap, and go pick up someone else like Chase Young, Montez Sweat, or maybe even trades for those guys. So, Horst, what do you think? Do you think they, are you excited about, a trade of Trey Lance?
No, it doesn't excite me because I think he still has a ton of potential. Now, if they were to get back someone like Chase Young, obviously I'd be excited to see him. But what I'm expecting, which is going to be a mid-round draft pick, I'm not excited to see him go. I think he still has a ton of potential. Just because I get on here and say he's not good, that he's not playing well all the time, doesn't mean that I don't see his potential. And it's kind of upsetting. I didn't want it to end like this.
Yeah, JLE says, what is the age difference between Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold is 26 and Trey Lance is 23. So you got a 3-year age difference between the two players. And Robert Marquez says, hey, Purdy did nothing but win. And
Agreed.
I think, and that's why when they came into training camp, he was, quarterback 1. And Javier says this, just came in. What did I miss? Here's what you missed, Javier, for everyone that just jumped in. The 49ers, according to Tom Pelissaro and Ian Rappaport, have named Sam Darnold quarterback 2. So he's going to be, doing that for the 49ers. And then you have a situation where you have Trey Lance is now not at practice. So with Trey Lance not at practice, the San Francisco 49ers potentially could be moving on from Trey Lance. He could have requested a trade. We just don't know what happened there. So it's an interesting proposition for these two guys. But overall, I mean, that's kind of where we're at, right, Horst? I mean, we're kind of at that point where, the 49ers are trying to decide if this is something like 49ers-aholic is saying, Darnold higher floor despite lower ceiling. I mean, Sam Darnold's ability to throw the ball down the field, I mean, the arm ability, everything's there. We haven't seen it in his 56 games where he's looked like an elite quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, we don't know what his ceiling is.
But Darnold's always had extremely high ceiling as well.
Yeah.
With his arm talent and all that. So I don't know that he has much lower of a ceiling. I mean, I guess because he's played more games and you've seen him.
Yeah.
Is that why?
Yeah. And let's Robert says it's time to talk about the O-line. They got to get better quick. Well, that's what me and Horst were gonna be talking about on our episode.
Before all this broke.
Yeah. And so we're gonna be recording that later. So you guys will be able to see that. We're gonna talk about O-line later. And then all this news just came out about the 49ers quarterback situation. But you're right. O-line is one of the big conversations, that still needs to go from the starting offensive lineman, where the report was, Horst, so just a little tidbit of information, that Aaron Banks left practice yesterday with cramps because he lost 15 pounds during practice. So he got dehydrated. I thought that was crazy, by the way.
Holy smoke.
Yeah. And, this is what people are starting to relate this information to. Bosa is going to break the bank. So they think they need the $9 million for Trey. The $9 million for Trey is not actually going to go to Nick Bosa this year for sure, because Bosa's contract more than likely this year would actually be less.
Yeah.
You'll pay him less. You'll pay him a lot up front. His salary cap number will drop this season, and then they'll do something later. So I don't think they need to create any space for Nick Bosa right now. So I don't think that is the deal. And that's exactly what 49ers-aholic is saying right here.
That,
Bosa deal will have save cap this year. No need to find money right now. I believe that is spot on. So to me,
49ers faithful said that as well.
Yeah. So we're getting a lot of them. Yeah. Josh is going here. Once Bosa deal is done, they will save cap due to the restructure. So I think there's a lot of intelligent people in the chat right now, understanding exactly what's going on with this. And James says, I think we have around 10 million in cap space, more than enough for Bosa. So everyone is understanding, this is not really what it's about. And, I believe says what we really need is to keep quarterback one injury free, and we don't have to worry about any of this. What do you think, Horst?
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean,
you also can't prevent injuries from happening.
Oh, no, you can't, and this is an interesting one. Randy says, how about Jason Pierre-Paul?
Is he still playing?
He is a free agent right now.
But I mean, is he wanting to play?
Oh, that I don't know.
He's played a long time.
Yeah.
He's giving up fingers. He's giving up.
He really, he has actually.
For the love of the game.
Yeah. I mean, so that's the thing. And what's up, Melvin McGee in the house says, bang, bang, Niner gang. And if you're watching this and your first time on the channel, give the video a like, subscribe. Really appreciate everyone that joins the Cutback crew. And I think that, we got a lot of really good things, that are going on in chat. And Josh says, I really don't like, I'm guessing Zakelj being our swing guard at the moment over Feliciano. I think it's going to be Feliciano. I think he's going to be the first guy inside. I just don't think they're ready to move on from Zakelj. And yeah, me and Horst are going to get into all the offensive line conversation. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking for that. And Ben V says, hey, 55 INTs, and this is about Sam Darnold, and 35 fumbles is a high floor. In what world, Horst? In what world is that a high floor for Sam Darnold?
So by high floor, you mean his worst is not that bad.
Yeah.
Right?
So one of the big conversation points has been that Trey Lance has a higher ceiling, but a lower floor. Where you've seen where the floor is for Sam Darnold, so he can only come back to a certain level. And what Ben is saying here is, how is that a high floor? In what world is that a high floor?
Okay, first of all, did you see some of those Jets teams he started on?
Yeah, I think that is I think that's always a good point, right? That the players that he's playing with, also the coaching staff that he has, right? The system he operates in. I think it's probably his floor is probably not as low as we saw. I'm sorry. I think his ceiling is higher than what we think, and probably his floor is maybe a little bit lower than what we think. I think a lot of ways him and Trey Lance are similar.
Yeah.
I just think he's farther along in his maturation process so far. 49ers Faithful, so what's up, Josh? Says Melvin Ingram would be a great fit for a vet edge guy, and he's still available out there.
I didn't know he was.
Yeah.
It's another good one.
Yeah, and then they said, hey, that trade to the Titans starting December again. We'll see. I mean, with the 49ers having front office
what
guys.
Trade is that?
I don't know exactly what the trade would be, like the parameters.
Was it Lance? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So what you get is these guys that have been within the 49ers organization, right? These general managers. So you have one right there. Rand Carthon is with the Tennessee Titans. So he might have really been high on Trey Lance. He might want to bring him in. They have two young guys that they've drafted there, but I don't know if they're set on them. Could Miami be looking with Mike McDaniel to upgrade the quarterback position behind Tua Tagovailoa? That's a potential landing spot. I don't think the Jets is. I think the Packers, though, with Matt LaFleur, that would be interesting because Jordan Love's makeup is not too much different from Trey Lance's, in my opinion, as far as body type, style, arm strength. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one. But I think there's a lot of places Trey could go and be QB2. It just depends what the teams want to give up, what we can get for him. I'd still rather it worked out and he stayed in San Francisco.
Yeah.
My honest opinion. But we'll see. I'm sure it'll come out in the next day or two. Whether obviously if Trey's not at practice again tomorrow, it's clearly a problem. Maybe like you said, it was just a go home, cool down, think about life day.
Yeah.
And hopefully he comes back.
Yeah, because it ain't tomorrow, but he's got a football game tomorrow.
I'd rather watch JPP try to play an Xbox than watch.
Yeah. Josh says Falcons a trade partner. They were definitely in on Trey Lance. They wanted him. They ended up with Desmond Ridder. I think that's a possibility. The question is, what are you going to get back for him? You know what I mean? I've heard some of the claims about the Falcons sending some of their best players. I don't think that they would send one of their best players over.
So the Niners for Trey Lance?
Yeah. Because a lot of people have talked about Pitts.
Someone thinks they would send hits.
Yeah, there's definitely people that have brought it up.
No way.
Yeah.
The only decent player you might get from them is either Algier or Cordarrelle Patterson, because they drafted Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, I just don't think the Niners need Cordarrelle Patterson at this point. Yeah.
But I'm just saying
Yeah. So this is from Brian. He says, yeah, Purdy is such a smart quarterback. He said, who is for sure isn't as physically gifted. I'm an Iowa State fan, so I've seen plenty of Purdy. This offense doesn't need the physical attributes of Trey. So he's saying, hey, even though we don't have a guy that's tremendously, as athletic and as physically gifted as Brock Purdy, that's not what this team really needs.
So that's what he's saying, is that he doesn't feel like that we need a physically gifted guy.
Well, as physically gifted, right? You just need the guy that can operate within the offense. And that's what they're getting.
I think everyone wants the physically gifted guy, though.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Makes life easier.
Yeah, and Barron doesn't think that Trey's going to leave. He said, especially if it's not a money issue. I think it could be Trey is a competitor. He wants to be on the football
everybody
field.
wants to play.
Yeah.
That's silly. Trey has not been around long enough to declare himself a career backup.
He does. He's 23 years old. He doesn't want to, be
that.
I
don't see it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be there and be third string either if I was Trey.
Yeah, and this is one thing here at JL, he said a mental break day. You know what I mean? And that could be what it is.
I hope so.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping. And I think that there's still people that are going to be on both sides of, the category with this whole conversation. Is, they're gonna be on, some people are gonna be in the camp that Sam Darnold. It's just like Ben says right here. Darnold was a turnover machine at USC as well. That's nothing new for him. And I think a lot of people are going to, stick to that because of what they've seen. And they don't see the redeeming qualities in Sam Darnold that potentially they see the upside in Trey Lance. And so there's definitely people that are more on with Trey Lance and what he could provide. And there's some people that are there, with what, Sam Darnold could provide. So, to me, it's an interesting conversation, but it appears that this thing is coming to a head, and we're going to get some sort of decision. It appears Sam Darnold is one quarterback too, according to Tom Pelissero and and Ian Rappaport. And now we're going to have a decision on Trey Lance. Can the 49ers work something out to keep him on the roster, or are they going to turn around and move him for potentially picks, or like Josh said earlier, for a player, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I think we'll know the answer to that here pretty soon, whether they're trying to trade him or not.
Yeah.
And whether he's going to stick around or not, because like I said, if he's not at practice tomorrow, pretty good sign.
Yeah, tomorrow's walkthroughs, there'll be no media, so we'll have no idea.
Or if he's not at the game.
Yeah, and maybe that's it, right? Maybe they just said, hey, go ahead and take the day. You don't have to deal with any reporters or anything like that. Tomorrow's walkthroughs, there's no media. You won't have to worry about it. Maybe that's something they were deciding, Horst.
Yeah, we'll see. It's an interesting situation.
Yeah, it is. And thanks everyone for coming through and live. Chat has been great. You guys are really the best. So you got 49ers putting Sam Darnold as quarterback 2, Trey Lance not at practice, and Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero saying that potentially they are looking at options for Trey Lance. What that means exactly, we don't know. But I think that's something that we're going to have to monitor over, the next couple of days or so. But I wanted to thank everyone for coming through and watching the episode with me and Horst and talking about, the quarterback position. If you want O-line talk, if you want to talk about, tight ends and everything, you can join us on our other episode. You can come through and check that out. So more stuff coming your way. Really excited, about the 49ers and what's going to happen at the preseason game and then the 53-man roster. So thanks everyone for coming through. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, stay safe and remember the right way
is always the 49ers way. When does that have to be the 53?
The 29th.
What is that?
Next Tuesday.
Like the 22nd. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 29th.